Arguing with a narcissist is like arguing with a child. Remember being a kid and misbehaving or saying something bad that got you into trouble? Remember what would happen? Initially, you would lie and say you didn't do it. You thought you could lie your way out of it. But what would happen? You'd get interrogated until the real truth came out, and most likely receive some sort of punishment. Back then, we used to call it getting busted. Those were some of the best lessons I learned growing up, because those situations taught me that I needed to be accountable for my actions. They taught me how to accept blame, feel shame for what I'd done, and take responsibility for what I'd done. Narcissists didn't do that because they never learned how to do any of that. All they felt after doing something bad was regret for getting caught. They started denying everything at a young age and never grew out of it. Instead of taking responsibility, they practiced ways to avoid responsibility, and they never looked back. Think about how kids act when you call them out for doing something wrong. They usually do everything they can to avoid any blame because they're so terrified of feeling that shame for what they've done. Now think about the narcissist in your life. The exchange is very familiar, isn't it? They do and say everything to avoid blame and accountability because they remember the shame they felt as a kid and they're terrified of that feeling. So they bury all that shame from their past and refuse to let it surface. They got stuck in that kid mentality and they never grew out of it. They never learned how to take accountability for anything they did, and that's what they have become as an adult. A denier, a blame shifter, a projector, a liar, and a cheater. So whenever you call them out, you should realize you're getting into an argument with a kid in a grown-up body. Narcissists have a kid mentality when it comes to anything about them doing something wrong. And you'll notice they act just like a kid whenever there's an argument. They'll instantly deny any blame right out of the gate. They'll make up stories. They'll blame others. They'll minimize what they've done and try to make it seem what they did was harmless. And they'll try their best to change the subject and get as far from the issue at hand as possible. Just like a kid, they're emotionally immature. And just like a kid, they'll do whatever it takes to avoid taking responsibility or accountability for anything. So keep that in mind anytime you get into an argument with them. Now, if you want to continue going down that path with them and continue getting into arguments that go nowhere, you should understand that it's a lost cause, and it always will be. Because again, the narcissist isn't going to take any responsibility for anything. You could have 10 witnesses and video footage of them doing what you call them out on, and they'll still try and flip it around to fit their lie. And if by chance you throw all the undisputable facts at them, and you do get an apology, trust me, it's not a real apology. It's just an excuse to move on from that subject. And it turns into, but wait a minute here. Remember when you did that bad thing to me? Let's talk about that for a minute. You've got just as much mud on your hands as I do. Does that sound familiar? They always find a way to weasel out of whatever they've done and turn the narrative into something you did in the past. It's classic blame shifting at its best, guys. It's totally avoiding the issue at hand, and it'll happen every time. Honestly, I think you have a better chance at winning the lottery than getting a real apology from a narcissist, because they don't have the emotional maturity to face the real truth. Remember, they're about as mature as preteens when it comes to conflicts in life. When you argue with a narcissist, it almost feels like you're going back in time, like being in a relationship when you were a kid. Is that what you really want? Do you really want to relive those days when you were figuring things out as a kid? When you were learning how to deal with the drama that comes with childhood relationships? You already went through that growing up phase. And guess what? You grew up. You matured emotionally. And you learned how to deal with arguments and issues like a grown adult. And now here you are, stuck in a relationship with an emotionally immature person. And all it's doing is setting you back. It's stopping you from moving forward, guys. And it's a rut you don't want to be in with anybody. Trust me, when things start to go south with a narcissist, they will continue to go in that direction. There's not going to be some turn for the better. Things are not going to improve because there's no reasoning with a person that's incapable of reasoning. It's just a losing battle that never ends. The best thing you can do is to accept that fact and figure out what your next move's going to be. And I hope that move is all about ending the arguments right now. Just refuse to get into them, because the only reason narcissists want to argue is so they can feel the sense of victory from wearing you down. Removing their ability to break you down emotionally is truly one of the best ways to begin the healing process. And it all starts with refusing to stoop to their emotional level. Thanks so much for watching, and always remember to keep looking for those signs. Stay alert, be vigilant, be strong, be brave, and go live your best life today.